And just when we suspected things were going to lull down and be boring until the expansion draft, think again, as this week has already proven to be full of twists and turns that make being a hockey fan much more satisfying. From the Pierre McGuire hiring in Ottawa to the Ryan Suter, Zach Parise buyouts to Pekka Rinne hanging up the skates for good, there's been no shortage of news to talk about and digest. Therefore, I thought I'd carry on and speculate here a bit by addressing the next potential news to flood our social media accounts. We'll be going over a few players whose futures are uncertain, why that is, and where they may end up. And with that, here's what could be next for these 3 NHL players. Recently, Chicago shocked many as they dealt longtime defenseman Duncan Keith for Caleb Jones in a 3rd-round pick. The ability for Stan Bowman to pull off such a trade had the media openly buying into the criticism of Ken Holland. Anyways, I digress. So after parting ways with Keith, the club's next focus at hand seems to be finding a number 1 netminder for next season. With not many choices to choose from, considering the last offseason deals seem to be dominated by the masked men, several number 1s per se are comfortably locked up with their respective teams. Therefore, this has caused the Blackhawks to now shift their attention to Sin City to one of the strongest goalie tandems currently in the league, as Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury, who most recently won the Williams-Jennings Trophy, have proven to be complementary to each other in nets. But the Knights, who are exempt from the expansion draft, will not have to worry about losing either Tendy. Still, they have a glaring problem. The team, over the postseason, proved to have a legitimate weakness up front as the first line was easily shut down and the majority of their scoring was forced to come from their defensemen in results. With Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone both top-tier wingers, the Knights are most likely going to want to land possibly Jack Eichel or even Steven Stamkos if possible. With that being said, to do so, they're going to have to free up some more cap space as they still have a key player in Alex Martinez to sign as well. Therefore, despite Fleury wanting to remain as a Golden Knight and Bill Foley even expressing his desire for this to happen, Kelly McCrimmon's hand could very well be forced to do something, with Chicago recently being adamant about its interest in the most recent Vezina recipient. After parting ways last offseason with Corey, the goaltending position for the Hawks has been a revolving question mark, and according to The Athletic, per an inside NHL source, Bowman is viewing Fleury as a short-term solution to the goaltending woes. As ambitious as this sounds, considering Fleury's $7 million cap hit and that Bowman is already lobbying for Seth Jones as well, the club does have around $10 million extra to work with, due to Andrew Shaw and Brent Seabrook both still being on IR. Even though Fleury wants to remain a Knight, Vegas could decide to deal him. Despite his modified no-trade clause, Chicago seems like it would be a good fit for number 29, who seems to thrive nicely under the spotlight. Not only would he once again be the undisputed starter, but would also have a chance to receive a better valued extension than if he remained in Vegas. As word broke out here recently that Zach Parise and Ryan Suter were indeed getting bought out, while the amount of dead cap has been a concept that many are struggling to understand, it's given way for even more excitement to possibly take place as free agency. With Guerin enjoying the relief of not losing Matt Dumba to Seattle for nothing, the pair of former core players for the Wild are going to be looking for new homes. As we discussed recently, the New York Islanders seem to be a team that would make sense for Parise. Now, obviously, many teams are going to be in pursuit of Suter's services, as he's going to be a cheaper option who can still eat minutes easily on the back end. While some potential suitors could be Washington, Vegas, or even the Islanders, one that would make sense for sure would be Boston, with Seth Jones probably being a no-go in Beantown, OEL potentially being dealt to Vancouver. The need for some help within the top 2 pairings for the B will still need to be addressed, and if Don Sweeney can avoid locking up another defenseman with an expensive price tag, he will probably want to avoid it, as Charlie McAvoy will be looking for a hefty extension most likely next offseason. Therefore, bringing in Suter, who plays on the left side, would help fill a void that's been plaguing the team more recently on the back end. Even though he's past his prime, Suter could still be valuable potentially on the second pairing. Given that he's already made a significant amount of money in his career, he could see joining the B as one last opportunity to win a Stanley Cup before retirement. And if he could, I'm sure he'd prefer to do so with a team that's in his home country. Despite succumbing to defensive lapses as a product of age, Suter, who notched 19 points after 56 games played last season, could be the short-term solution for Boston that it needs. Seemingly almost every deadline or offseason, there seems to be some big name tied to Toronto. Alex Pietrangelo, Dougie Hamilton, the list has been seemingly endless in the past and present. But one name that's been linked to Toronto for quite a while is that of former Hart Trophy winner and Taylor Hall, as a forward who demonstrated a resurgence of offense while playing on the second line with David Krejci, has proven to spectators that he was only cursed in Buffalo, after recording 14 points in 16 games played as a Bruin. Therefore, even though Taylor Hall and his agent Darren Ferris have been speaking with Sweeney on a potential re-up of the team, this hasn't stopped Toronto from wanting to one-up the Bruins somehow away from the score sheet. As TSN insider Darren Dreger recently confirmed that the Leafs are amongst the teams that are looking to acquire Hall if Boston can't keep him. With Zach Hyman's future in Toronto uncertain, Dubas is most likely trying to prepare for the worst possible outcome by finding a solid replacement for the forward ahead of time. Even though Boston would be able to give Hall the long-term contract that he's desired, they wouldn't be able to give him the opportunity to play on a line with top caliber players game after game. The potential to play alongside Austin Matthews or John Tavares even would be rather enticing to number 71 most likely. Even though the odds are slim that he leaves Boston, it's still an entertaining concept to present nonetheless.